we're just watching that, and it really is such a wonderful thing.
Mary's Meals, we love it.
So joining us now is Magnus, who has been on before. He's almost a co-host at this point.
He is, really.
So Magnus, thanks so much for being with us. How are you doing today?
Really good. Great to be back on. Great to see you both.
Nice to see
Well,
you.
you're always welcome. And on this Solemnity of the Immaculate Conception, tell us about how the Blessed Mother Mary has a special meaning for you at Mary's Meals.
Yeah, couldn't be more special. We're very proud to do this work in her name, and it's not a small thing. You know, it also feels like quite a big responsibility. You know, to dare to do this in her name, and too long a story to tell you today, but the name isn't something that we just made up one day that sounded like a nice name. It is the result of an incredible miracle. I would say a miracle that spanned 20 years in the making, from a visit I made as a young teenager to Medjugorje, that place of Marian pilgrimage, through to an encounter I had with a child in Malawi nearly 20 years later. And all of that led to the birth of Mary's Meals. And from day one, we had this conviction that this belonged to her in a very special way. And from the very beginning, we asked her to show us how to do this work in a way that would please her, in a way that would point to her son. And that's what we keep trying to do. And we keep calling on her to help us every day.
Magnus, I was watching that video and I was actually getting hungry. The food looks good. It really does. And obviously, you are doing exactly what God wants you to do. And I'm sure our Blessed Mother in heaven is smiling from ear to ear. And in these Advent days, we really are generating a lot of hope. And how is it that providing these meals, because we know food isn't everything, but it's certainly very, very important. How is providing these meals to these young people in schools, how does it give them hope?
Yeah, no, I'm really glad, Bishop Reid, that you chose that word, because it's been on my mind so much recently, hope. I remember right at the very beginning of this work when me and my wife, Julie, were driving old battered trucks full of aid to Bosnia during that war. It's how our work began. I remember we painted on the side of it, "Delivering Hope." That was our first slogan. And although our work's evolved and changed in many ways over the years to this thing we do today, which is that meal every day for children, and it's so much about hope. We deliberately choose communities that are the communities that are suffering the most, that are the places where children are suffering hunger most acutely, often places of conflict, often places where people feel forgotten, where people just feel abandoned by the world, and places where there is I would say, a temptation to despair. And in the serving of this meal, yes, there's that immediate thing of the hungry child being fed, but all of a sudden there's hope, because the children are in school, they're learning, they're gaining an education. They start talking about their dreams, invariably about what they want to be when they grow up. All of a sudden, there's hope. There's something about a better future that they can dare to talk about. So yeah, I would say at the very heart of this work is we like to call ourselves servants of hope. That's one of my favorite titles for us as co-workers in the Mary's Meals movement. We're servants of hope.
Well, staying on that theme of hope, Magnus, there was some great news out of Ethiopia. Can you share that with us?
Yeah, that's really wonderful. If I remember rightly, you know, when I've been on talking to you before, I was talking about the terrible plight of the people in Tigray, in northern Ethiopia, where there's just been this horrendous conflict for so long. And they were certainly a group of people who felt forgotten by the world, very underreported conflict, I would say. And just now, in the last few weeks, finally, there's a peace that's holding, and schools are beginning to reopen. And that's allowing us to resume our normal work. We've begun serving those meals. Having been doing emergency work during the war, we've begun serving those meals again. And there's a remarkable nun there. It's Daughters of Charity that we work with there. and Sister Medine, who leads that work there for us, our partner, she's this incredible woman and who suffered so much during that conflict. She lost many members of her own family, and she stayed there throughout it all. And she was talking beautifully last week. She received an award in Ireland, and she was talking about how the prayer of the Mary's Meals family sustained her through that time, how it gave her hope. We would be organizing these international rosaries and inviting her in to say her decade in the local language. So yeah, a beautiful rebirth of hope in Tigray right now.
Well, Magnus, it's always a pleasure to talk with you. How can people help out with Mary's Meals?
Well, it still costs $25.20 to feed a child for a whole school year. So a small donation really goes a long way. It can transform a life. And the easiest thing, if people want to share at this time, is to go on our website and to make a donation, and also to find out about the many other ways people can help. And prayer is certainly one of the most important ways that people can help this movement.
And that's marysmealsusa.org, right?
That's right.
Magnus, always a pleasure. Happy Advent, and thanks for being on today.
Thank you. Thank you. Good
Have a
seeing you
great day.
both.
God bless.
Bye-bye.